June, and the sun is shining, and we have lots to discuss tonight. So if you would all please, it's welcome to the East Jersey Tea Party meeting, June 5th, 2014. If you would all rise, please. And Steve, I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Would you come up and say a prayer for us? Sorry. The individual who I asked to is not here yet.
That helps if it's on stage. If you can just bow our heads for a moment, please. Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather. We thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon us individually and as a nation. We thank you for your creation and this beautiful weather. We thank you for even the rain as it restores us and all of your creation. We look forward to what you have in store for us this evening. We ask that you keep us safe, that you would bless our conversation. We ask that you would bless this food before us, and that you would help us in working towards restoring our nation. In your Son's name, amen.
Thank you, Steve. Where's the young gentleman? Come on up.
Here for Christopher.
Yes, Christopher. Thank you. Oops, I'm sorry, folks. This is not attached to the music. Oh, whoops.
Sure, wreck my studio.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
And because tomorrow we remember D-Day, Bob, would you come on up and help us out here? Bob's going to lead us in a song that both Bob and I heard today due to Mike Savage, that the Air Force used to sing this. No longer though. Could Bob?
My country, 'tis a free, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where our fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring.
So, thank you all. You may be seated, and I hope that got us into a good spirit here of patriotism, and actually I want us to be in a fighting mode. And I'll tell you why. So much that's going to happen tonight. We are honored to have Anthony Wilkinson. He's going to be our guest speaker. But I want to start off with, how many people ran Tuesday on a ballot and won? Would you please stand up? Now, Dan, you're now, most of you were on the ballot, or did you write yourselves in, or did you do as Dan and Kathy did, or Susan did? Did you campaign on by yourselves? How did it happen, John?
It was handed to me on a silver platter. There was no petition filed, so I signed in. I don't have officially, but I think I got 100% of the one vote that was there.
His wife forgot. Joe, were you on the ticket, or?
I was on the ticket.
Okay.
I made the line, and I won, and I campaigned, and I got in, so I had...
Okay, good.
The first time, 2 years ago, I ran as a writing candidate.
Okay. Marilyn and I had it easy. We were on the ticket. However, Dan is going to tell us what he and his beautiful wife did on their own. Bill?
I've been on the committee for 2 years like Joe. And I'd like to tell all of you, in Monmouth County, there are 200 empty seats. 200. So if you live in Monmouth County 2 years from now, write your name in.
Actually, I think it's... Okay, and when Dan comes up to speak, he's going to tell us what him and his wife did. So, congratulations to all who won. This is the start. This is the start for you to be an influence in your town and in the politics that occur. Okay. Everybody knows what transpired this past weekend with Obama trading 5 of the worst for a traitor. Okay, here is why it is important, so important that you have your Tea Party cards, which Jim always has on the front desk, and why I'm preaching to the choir right now, why we need to be educated. Sunday afternoon, we knew that that was a bad trade. We knew, once again, Obama blew it. Thank you. I'm in Costco on Monday morning. I'm parked next to this car. I'm waiting for her to load up her groceries. I happen to look at her window, and I swear you cannot make this up. She had a picture of Bowden as a POW. I very calmly said to her, "Man, you know what transpired this weekend?" "Oh yes, it's great, Obama got him released." I said, "Ma'am, did you know that he deserted his unit? That because of him," at that point we were told 8 men died. That 8 men died, many were wounded. Did you know that? No, I didn't know that. As I'm telling her everything, she's peeling the sticker off of the windshield. And she said to me, she only watches 2, 4, and 7. I said, "Man, I'm not even going to tell you to watch Fox News anymore. I'm going to tell you you need to listen to conservative talk radio. But you can't make this up." And I was able to give her a East Jersey Tea Party card. But you need to be able to be outspoken and to give whatever information you can, and then invite them to the Tea Party. So, I see somebody with their hand raised. Yes?
I was running the elliptical trainer.
Can you either come up here or speak louder?
I was on the elliptical trainer when I heard the first announcement on Fox, and the first announcement only announced that he was released. They didn't go into the rest of it, and I thought, fine. 5 minutes later, they go out and tell the rest of the story. And I think, I gotta get home.
But the problem is, most people are not getting the whole story.
You only heard
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But one more story, and then we're going to give it over to our honored guest, Mr. Wilkinson. I happened to go to that famous fish market on Route 37 down in Toms River. I walk in; it's a very patriotic place. Flags. If you don't like me hanging my flag, you can leave. I say to the guy who's serving me, "Wow, I love your signs here." He's the owner. He sits down and he talks to me. He's so fed up. I give him our East Jersey, I have it in my purse. I give him our East Jersey Tea Party. I write all the information down. He said he would be here tonight. He's not. But at least he knows that we exist. Keep those cards with you. Hold these conversations with strangers. And that's how we're going to get more people here. Joe, you had your hand up, hon. Can you come up here and speak louder? But not too long.
It was confirmed on
Yeah, it was confirmed on the Mark Levin program that Glenn Rosen from Fox News did some investigating reporting, and it was confirmed that Bergdahl did convert to Islam. Of course, I'm not surprised, but I just wanted to add that.
And also, it was just released today that Obama also paid the Taliban $5 million. And that was reported on Megyn Kelly's show about 2 nights ago. There's money involved in here that's just not released in this. So, okay. I am so on. It's Anthony Wilkinson. Tony, are you here? Tony, is your campaign manager here? Yes, he is. I'm going to ask you to come up and read the bio because I didn't get it. So if you want to come on up.
She gave it back.
Hi, Tony. Do you want to? Okay, so much. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. So we're very honored to have one of our candidates, Mr. Anthony Wilkinson, here. He's running for Congress. He was born and raised in Detroit. He graduated at the top of his class in electrical engineering at the University of Michigan and attended Yale Law School. He's married to Lynn Wilkinson, who works as a secretary at Raritan Bay Medical Center in Perth Amboy. And they have a, wow, you do? They have a 26-year-old son. You look 27, Mr. Wilkinson. Who lives in New Brunswick, and a 17-year-old daughter and a graduate of Timothy Christian School in Piscataway. In 1993, while living in South Amboy, Mr. Wilkinson left the practice of law to embark on a career as a high school teacher for 8 years at a New York City alternative school for disadvantaged youth, or youths, if you're from New York, at risk of dropping out. He also taught at the public schools in Roselle and Sayreville. He serves as an educational consultant to teachers at Passaic County Technical Institute High School in Paterson, for the Seton Hall University for Urban Transformation. He is an adjunct professor of business law at Pilar College in Newark and a volunteer educational trainer at his church, Monmouth Worship Center in Marlborough. He co-owns a private business law practice in Freehold. Without any further ado, we're very honored here to have Mr. Wilkinson come on up and speak to us. We have a lot of admirers here.
I want to see your ID.
My parents are back there. I want to honor them. Honor your mother and father, for things will go well with you on the earth. My father, Ronald Wilkinson, and my mother, Jacqueline Wilkinson. And all the genes I get for my youthful appearance, I get from them. They're both like 100 years old each. Okay. Okay. I'm just so excited to be here. And the reason why I'm excited to be here is because you represent the future of our country. The enthusiasm, the energy, the putting aside apathy and your own self-interest, and to be willing to talk to people about what's necessary to change our country, that's what it's going to take. And that's the difference that you all can make, and that's the difference that I want to make. I'm running because of the same reasons while you were talking to that person in the parking lot. Because people need to know that if there's not a change, if there's not a difference, if we're not willing to set aside our own interests, then our future is at stake. As you heard from my biography, I grew up in Detroit. I came from Detroit 20 years ago to live in New Jersey, and I watched in Detroit as Democrats, they spent money year after year after year, they borrowed money year after year after year, and they maintained their positions in office year after year after year, and eventually the city ran out of money. And when a city or a government runs out of money, they start behaving badly. They start doing things like we saw over the weekend, where the executives They take advantage of their positions of power and they just start doing things like abrogating or canceling contracts, canceling benefits, removing services from people who are expecting to receive services. And those are the kind of things that can happen to our country any day. Any day. We are subject to a $17 trillion debt. $50,000 for every man, woman, and child. Increasing by $2 billion a day, with our owing money to countries that at any moment could say, we're not going to buy this short-term debt anymore. We could wake up tomorrow morning, read it in the newspaper, and everything would change. Just like when my parents woke up one morning and found out that Detroit had gone into bankruptcy, and everything changed. I don't want that to happen to my children. I don't want that to happen to my grandchildren. And the Tea Party, you all were the first one in an organized manner to start waving the red flag and saying, warning, warning, danger, danger, the train is about to hit, or is about to go off the cliff. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running. Fortunately, I'm blessed. I'm blessed with good health. I have a great marriage. I have a flexible business. My parents have been just two wonderful set of parents. I've got a daughter who gets, straight A's, and she's going off to university, almost a full scholarship, and she's been like the perfect daughter. So I've been blessed with much, and so I have much to give back. Not everybody has the opportunity to serve. So when I was asked to serve, I felt it was my duty and obligation to make the sacrifice and serve, not for myself, but again, for you all and for the children and grandchildren that we all have. I sacrificed before when I was a lawyer in New York City, and I gave up my career to be a public school teacher for 15 years. And so I've done it before. I'm just doing it again. That's why I was created. That's why 100 years from now, when my great-grandchildren are wondering what Grandpa Anthony Wilkinson did, they'll be able to say, he ran for Congress, and with your help, he won Congress for the first time in 2014. But it's not just me. Each and every one of you have to do the same thing in your own way, in your own sphere of influence. Now, it's one thing for me to run. It's another thing for me to win. So in order to win, I have to have a plan. And that plan is built on the foundation that Anna Little developed in 2010 and 2012. The last time there was an off-year election when Anna Little ran, she only lost by 6,600 votes. 6,600 votes. We can make up those 6,600 votes in 2014. This year, with Obamacare, giving Republicans votes on a day-by-day basis because of the increases in the premiums from Obamacare, because of those people who were promised that they will be able to keep their doctor, that they will be able to keep their insurance, and those promises were broken by the government, because of those businesses who are causing people who are gainfully employed full-time to now be employed part-time and to have to work 2 jobs instead of 1 job. Every day this is happening. And every day we're seeing that these policies of big government are not working. That's what makes 2014 different than any other year. That's what I want to take advantage of. I want to take advantage of the fact that Pallone, my opponent, he's arguing that he's proud of Obamacare. He authored it. And yet, at the same time, the people that are not subject to Obamacare in Congress are causing the people who are subject to it to suffer from its provisions. That's the difference in 2014 as compared to 2010. We also have Pallone voting with Obama, 99% of the time. My job is to be your representative, to be a true representative. Not to put my personal interests first, but to put your interests first. To go around the district and let people know that I care, that I'm concerned, that I'm sincere, honest, and a man of integrity. I'm the same everywhere. I'm the same with my parents, with my clients, with my students, with my wife at my church. I'm a man of my word. I always try to do what I say, and I always try to put other people's interests in front of my own. But another thing that makes me different is my background. Because I'm African American and I went to Yale Law School, I'm able to relate to people from all different backgrounds, from rich to poor, suburban to city. Christian, non-Christian. I am able to relate to people because of my unique background. Let me give you an example. Last night, I sat down with a hedge fund operator from New York City that would relate and talk to sometimes billionaires, sometimes people with hundreds of millions of dollars. I sat down and talked with him and his friends for about an hour. And I was able to convey my passion and my enthusiasm for what needs to change in this country. And he said, great, I want to support you, I want to donate, I want to help, I want to volunteer. Today, at Newark Airport, I'm sitting down and a gentleman next to me said, hey, I like what you're doing on your computer, what is that? And I said, oh, it's an iPad. So I started to talk to him. He was a Haitian, African, descended from Africa, Haitian, 27 years old, on public assistance with food stamps and a voucher. Has a child with a woman that he's not married to and is unemployed. I didn't go back to working on my iPad. I stopped and said, I wonder what I can do to help this man with his problems. Not in my district, from Newark. So I started to talk to him, and I want to give you I want to give you 5 minutes to give you an example of how I want Republicans to solve problems for real people with real concern. Because I want to be a Republican who cares. I want to be a conservative that not only talks the talk, but also comes up with real solutions. So let me tell you this gentleman's plight. I'm going to call him James, just as an example. James is what we wanted James to be at one point. Working 2 jobs. He had an apartment for his child's mother where they could stay. He was working to support them and working to support himself. One of his jobs was at the airport. Unfortunately, because of back child support obligations, and if you know anything about child support obligations, in addition to your taxes, they can garnish 65% of your after-tax income. So let's just do the math. If he's making minimum wage, around $8 an hour, let's say you take 25% for taxes, that leaves $6. Then we take 2/3 of that for his child care obligation. That means he works, that's $2 an hour, he works a full day, 8 hours, and he gets $16. That's not even, I don't even think that's enough to get a meal for him, his wife, and his son at McDonald's these days. Okay? He got laid off. And so he said to himself, no, mind you, he was getting child support, and at the same time, because of that, he kept paying child support, he still got food stamps and a voucher for his apartment because of the child support, he couldn't support himself. Why would he work again? Why would he look for a job? Because if he didn't have a job, guess what? He still got the voucher, and he still got the food stamps. So I said, what would be a solution for this man? Because we, as Republicans, we want him to work. We want him to develop skills in a system of free enterprise and capitalism where he's adding to society rather than taking away. So I didn't have an answer for him right then, but I thought about it and I came up with one possible solution. I just want to share it with you tonight as an idea. We don't want government to come up with this solution. We want private enterprise to come up with this solution. Because if he's not working, his child and mother are still going to get food, shelter, and clothing from our tax dollars. But if he's working, then that money is not coming from our taxes. So I said, well, what if we had a system where let's say a nonprofit did one thing. All they did was monitor whether people were working. And you could go on a website to see whether someone is working. And now that we have proof that someone is working, now we have to have an incentive for the person to want to work. So we don't want the government to give out money as an incentive because that's coming from our tax dollars. And remember, we want a balanced budget amendment. We want to have fiscal responsibility. We want the debt to come down on a year-to-year basis. That means the government cannot increase spending. It's got to maintain spending and then decrease spending. So how do we encourage this person to work without government money? Well, I'm a business law attorney now, and I know businesses, they have excess services and they have excess goods. If we know this person is working, why can't we as a community give him as a reward, as an incentive, some of our excess services? Whether if it's a movie theater, maybe you have an excess movie ticket per week. Maybe if you're a store and you have an excess DVD player and it's got a dent in it, if you can verify that it's working, maybe he can go there and get that. Maybe you're an owner of Baskin Robbins, maybe you can get a couple ice creams per week for his child. As long as we know that this person is doing the right thing for society, benefiting society by working, even though he's getting the $2 per hour, maybe knowing that he can go up the street and get a free coffee one day, or maybe he can go down and get a basketball for his son because the store can prove that he's working. Maybe he will have the incentive to work, and maybe those around him will say, where are you getting all that stuff from? And he says, well, I'm working, you know, they're taking out the child support, but, you know, I can go around with this card and they look at my driver's license, they can prove I'm working. I get like free stuff because they want me to keep working. And maybe his friends will start working too. And then what do we have in 5 to 10 years? We have a man or 2 men or 3 men who now have skills. They've contributed to society through working for businesses that are selling products and helping the entrepreneur. He's paying taxes. Those taxes are being used to contribute to society. His wife and son are being taken care of, not with tax dollars, but being taken care of with dollars from him working. And everybody wins, and it doesn't cost the government, it doesn't cost us anything. And guess what? That plan that I came up with, it doesn't require the Democrats. It does not require the Democrats. You know what it requires? It requires us. It requires us to be willing to come up with creative solutions to help those in our community who are willing to do the right thing. And that's what being a Republican is all about. It's about giving people opportunities who want to do the right thing and removing obstacles from those who want to do the right thing. Right now, James, he has too many obstacles to him doing the right thing. So let's come up with solutions for James that doesn't take money from the taxpayer coffers and instead uses those in the community to give him the incentive to do the right thing. That's just one idea. I have always had the ability to do that, to talk to people, whether it's students or clients, find out what's really important to them, what they care about, and to come up with structured solutions for solving their problems. That's what I want to do in this district. That's what I want to do for our country, and I want to do it without costing you all any more money in taxes or in services. Let me just briefly talk to you about a couple of the other things that I believe in. I'm a strong constitutional conservative. Our Constitution is a beautiful document. It's written in simple, plain English. It means what it says it means. When it says that we're supposed to, in the 10th Amendment, that power is not given to the federal government or reserved to the states and the people, that's exactly what it means. When it says in the 2nd Amendment that the people have the right to keep and bear arms, that means we have the right to protect our friends, our family, and ourselves personally. And let me tell you, when the government runs out of money and they're not providing the police services, going back to Detroit, you might need those arms to protect yourself. And you should have the right to have those arms. If you do the right thing, you get a license, and you go through the procedures. If you want to carry a concealed weapon, if the Constitution says you can do it, why should our government have any other policy? It makes no sense. It says what it says, it means what it means. The First Amendment, the first phrase is it protects the freedom to exercise of one's religion. The first phrase in the First Amendment says that. The government should not punish people who want to express their religious beliefs. The government should not mandate that people violate their religious beliefs. Our Constitution provides for it, we should follow it. We have a right in the Fourth Amendment against violation of our privacy. There shouldn't be any unreasonable searches and seizures without probable cause. It's plain and simple. I don't see a right to abortion in there, though. Okay? I see a right to privacy. If you read it, it includes a right even as to your papers. And one would think your papers include your internet usage or your phone records. And so why is our government putting aside that provision in the Fourth Amendment and using our taxpayer dollars to monitor what we're doing in our private lives. You know, what is this about? How does this happen? It happens through judicial activism, and now with Obama, we're seeing it's happening through executive activism. That's why those 5 Taliban soldiers were released without notifying Congress, okay? Without following the law. That's not what our founders wanted the executive to do, the president to do. The founder is called to follow the law. If you want a different law, then there's a legislative process for doing so. If you want to amend the Constitution, there's a process for doing it, not through judicial activism. These are just a few of the things that I'm passionate about. Of course, as an educator, I don't have to go. I'm passionate about education, about local curriculum control, not having Common Core being dictated by the federal government. What does President Obama know about what's going on in the city of Old Bridge? Okay.
Washington.
Exactly. So, I'm a big advocate, whether it's charter schools, private schools, home schools, even public schools. The idea is our money. And if we want to use our money to educate our children in a way that we as a community or we as a family feel is best, why should the government say that we cannot do so and that we have to do otherwise? I just want you to know that we can do this year. 2014 is a special year. This is a year when Republicans can stand up for the values they believe in and win, and set the stage for a win in 2016. With your help and your enthusiasm, we're going to do it. Elect Anthony Wilkinson for Congress. I'm going to ask, what can you do? First and foremost, I want you to be a contributor. What can you contribute? You can contribute your time and your money. Now, this is valuable to you. Unlike the government that doesn't treat your time and money valuable, I know your time and money is valuable. You've already set it aside for other things that are priority for you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to sacrifice a little bit of that time and money and put it towards someone who's going to try to sacrifice for the country to make it better for your children and your grandchildren. You can sacrifice your time by volunteering. My campaign manager, Paul Thurman, is back there, along with a volunteer list that you can sign up for. You can also sign up on our website, wilkinson4nj.com. It's on the palm card that each of you have received. You can contribute. There's a donation envelope that you've been given. You can contribute on our website. You can like us on Facebook. That lets people know that people are supporting me. Any donation you give, even $1, is important because it lets people know that I'm being supported by those in the community. It doesn't take a continuous contribution. If you can do one time, that's great. If you can do it every single week now through the election, that's great. I leave it up to God to let you know what you can serve and what you can give. And by doing that, each of you can give in your own way, and we'll be successful together.
Okay, and Anthony Wilkinson is what we need. So whatever we can do, we don't always win, but we have a great opportunity right now, so let's try. Thank you, Anthony. Come back. Okay. We have a number of prizes this month. So the first prize we have is from our own Robert Goldberg, who was in the cookie business. And he's donated a beautiful cookie jar. So, thanks to Steve, our educator, if anybody can answer this question, you get this beautiful cookie jar. What is the meaning of D-Day? No, we knew you were gonna. No, Dan, you're disqualified.
Day of days? Day of days?
Steve, is that acceptable?
Why is it called D-Day?
He has an answer.
Day of days?
No, okay. Why Why is D-Day? How did you phrase it, Dan? Why is why is D-Day called D-Day?
What's with the D?
What's with the D? What's up with the D, folks?
Not Dan.
Deliverance.
Good. Actually, I like that answer, though.
In Washington, D.C.
Not. No.
Come on, someone.
Come on.
Cookie jar.
Dawn, you are a history teacher.
What happened yesterday?
Delta.
Okay, Steve, we got to get another question then, since nobody could answer.
But what's the answer?
Steve, well, Steve's gonna go into it in detail. Really, nobody has. Okay. We'll go. Jason. Yeah.
Am I eligible?
I'm sorry.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Take a vote. I say yes.
I say yes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Go ahead, Jason.
Decision day?
No. Okay.
Loser.
Alright, we'll come back. In fact, we'll let Steve come up and do the Treasurer's report and do his educational piece on D-Day. And then we'll ask that question again. What, the cookie jar? The All-American cookie jar. Thanks, Steve.
Does it have cookies in it?
Got drugs.
There's been. I hope there's not drugs. Robert said that. So anybody on camera that didn't see that, it's Robert Goldberg. That's Goldberg. Okay, so the Treasurer's report, short and sweet. Basically, we have $546.10 in the coffers currently. It is down because we just purchased these lovely shirts that maybe some of you have seen, but I haven't heard anybody talk about yet. So if you're interested in buying some of those, take a good look. There you are, our new shirts. Thank you to Jason. So Jason submitted these designs, and they are for sale somewhere with Jason or in the back of the room here, and they're $15. So currently our balance, like I said, is depleted a little bit, but we will restore that when these shirts are sold, which will probably be tonight because you guys love them, right? Okay. So I was asked tonight to talk a little bit about history, which happens quite a bit. Kind of off the cuff, I actually just got back from Los Angeles. Had a nice family vacation, and this may come as a surprise to you, but on my vacations I actually like to spend a little bit of time doing something history related. So in addition to all the other touristy things, we go and hit some history spots. And we visited the Nixon Library and Birthplace while we were out there in Yorba Linda, California, and also the Reagan Ranch, or not the Reagan Ranch, but the Reagan Library. And let me tell you, we've been to 16 presidents' homes and historic sites, and of the 16, I mean, obviously Washington and Madison and Jefferson, all very moving, but when you can actually see the president live on video and not just read his words, it's extremely moving. And if you want to talk about it, really an inspiring, I guess it's just an experience. If you sit there and you actually take the time to go through the interactive exchanges, Reagan's legacy, we lived through it, unlike some of the other presidents that we talked about in the past. If you have the opportunity to go and see it, it really is worth the while, even sitting in the traffic, let me tell you. So if you get the chance, do that. So I did have a plan for a history speech this evening, and I had to move that and switch it because I was reminded of something that happened, and I was going to talk to you about probably the most secretive event of the 20th century. I'm not talking about the birthplace of Obama. I'm talking about D-Day, which was mentioned. So the history of D-Day, why was it called D-Day? Military terms, H is hour, D is day. And there had been many D-Days, Day of Invasion. Day of Invasion was D-Day. And you would always have those, and that had happened many times over the course of World War I through World War II. But after the official D-Day, as we now know it, they stopped using D-Day, and D-Day only refers to that particular spot. But D-Day was always Day of Invasion, and then they would never list what that day was in advance because you didn't want the secret out. And this was a secret that we were trying to keep for quite some time. It was actually almost 2 years in the making. It started over in Quebec. We had a big conference there. We had a lot of plans that went into it. And at this very hour, as we speak, 70 years ago today, the invasion was underway. At this very moment. The planes had taken off from Britain. They were flying over the channel, and they were going to start to drop 13,000 plus bombs on the enemy to destroy targets, try to weaken their defenses, clear the beaches, and also drop paratroopers behind enemy lines. Of those planes that are going off, also we had approximately 5,000 ships in the flotilla. That would be the battleships, destroyers, all the little tiny landing crafts. Over 5,000 of them. This would be the largest armada the world had ever seen up until that point. And still, it's the largest sea battle, or not battle, but the sea landing and invasion in history. So originally D-Day was scheduled for May 1st. May 1st was not going to happen because we didn't think we had enough landing craft. So we put this on hold and had to push it off. A lot of this was weather related. Any of you who watch the Weather Channel, you're big fans of the Weather Channel on history, you'll know that they wanted to make sure they had at the appropriate time, they wanted the full moon. They wanted to make sure that their planes would be able to hit their targets and see it. And obviously radar was not as efficient as it is today. So we don't have the things like we watched on CNN when we were bombing Baghdad and we could all watch it from home. You actually had to get over there and find out. So they did not have the radar, they did not have the tools that we have today. So they wanted a full moon. They also were waiting for the high tides to come in. They wanted to make sure that their men could land as far up the beach as is physically possible so they wouldn't be an open target running a couple hundred yards at these cliffs. The cliffs where they were going to land were somewhere between 90 and 120 feet tall and deeply entrenched by the German troops, and you were just easy pickings on the beach. It was not going to be a picnic. They fully anticipated this was going to be a bloodbath. Our side knew it, and we had planned for it. And in this 2 years, they wanted to make sure we had the medical treatment necessary before we even left. And that included 30,000 stretchers and 60,000 blankets. They were expecting up to 1/3 casualties. 160,000 men set sail or flew over that day. 160,000. So they would have needed if they had 1/3 of the casualties. Right before bedtime, about now, Winston Churchill was speaking with his wife and commented to her that before we wake up tomorrow morning, as many as 20,000 men may be dead. That's what they were expecting. I mean, that's what they were fully anticipating. Thankfully, it didn't work that way. There were heavy casualties, as we know. The men left shortly before midnight. The bombs were being dropped. The barricades being broken down. Many of the men were dropped behind enemy lines. They were off target. They landed in the wrong spot. We lost up to 16% of our paratroopers because of the harnesses on their parachutes, believe it or not. 16% of our parachutes. And the reason was because you couldn't unharness them and unsnap them fast enough. So you would either be shot down, or because of the heavy rains we had been experiencing, they drowned in the fields that they landed in because they were smothered, and they actually drowned in their parachutes. So a couple hundred men died because of the harnesses on their parachutes. At that point, shortly before 5 a.m., they were getting close enough. Everybody knew something was happening. They just weren't entirely sure what was going on. The British, or the Germans rather, were not able to track us because we had spent 2 months bombing the French territories. And at that point, we had taken a lot of the radar, and they couldn't get the incoming reports. So their weather forecasters were saying that the storm that had rolled in, which not only we had delayed from May, but we had delayed from the 5th. The 5th was the actual second day that we had planned on doing it. But the weather was so bad, seas were so bad, there was a low ceiling, they were afraid we weren't going to hit any of our targets, the planes weren't going to be able to fly, hit anything. We postponed it. Our weathermen, or our forecasters, told them, it's going to be much better tomorrow. Guess what? The weathermen back then, they lied. They still lie, right? So the weathermen were wrong. It was still kind of crappy, but the ceiling had lifted. They just fully were not anticipating that there would be an invasion at this point because the weather was so bad, and the German forecasters were actually expecting it to last for another week. So at that point, Eisenhower decided it's either now or never, because the longer we delay this, the more chances are that some of this information is going to get out. We'd already been putting it off, passing out flyers. We actually had General Patton over in England at a fake base made out of plywood. They built a base of plywood as a decoy, and they had him sending out fake transmissions. Everybody was anticipating this was going to be the day. Hitler anticipated somewhere along the way. We had been kind of decoying it and telling him it was going to be at the Pas de Calais, I think is how they say it. I'm not French. But it's a very small, narrow, it's the closest spot on the English Channel. They expected that was going to be the landing spot. Hitler also expected Norway. Norway was going to be where it was. They had an Atlantic sea wall that they had barricaded. It went for 2,400 miles. It was not 100% complete, but 2,400 miles of barricades and bombardments and all of these things and obstacles, all the way from Spain to Norway. So the battle was underway. Just after 5, the ships and the battleships started bombarding the beaches, doing their damage. The planes were dropping their 13,000 bombs. And then just after 6 a.m., our troops hit the beach. The British and Canadians were there with us, 150,000 men. We're going to make this landing on the beaches. Juno and Sword and Gold were left mainly for the British and the Canadians. We had some U.S. troops interspersed as well. Each of those beaches sustained 1,000 men plus casualties, fatalities, not the wounded. 1,000 men per beach. 3,000 men on those 3 beaches alone. The U.S. mainly occupied 2 beaches of the 5 that we were trying to hit, Utah and Omaha. Utah was actually pretty lucky. We only lost 197 men. 197 men. The seas were so sharp and still so choppy that they were being pushed southward. As a result of that, they landed just to the south of one of the barricades and entrenchments. So instead of having to face 2 of them, we only had to face 1. The commanding officer, the first one, the ranking officer that landed there was Teddy Roosevelt Jr. Teddy's son, who had also been a veteran of World War I and now World War II. So he hit the beach and he decided, okay, well, we're not getting the heavy fire we expected. Plus the heavy seas had also pushed a lot of the debris and minefields up onto the beach. So a lot of our ships were able to get in there without any major issues there. We landed the beach. We lost 197 men. He detoured all of the other troops down to that side. And by 9 o'clock, that beach had been cleared and they were heading inland. That was the best beach. So if you were lucky enough to land at Utah, then it was fortunate for you. Omaha, the guys were not so lucky. Things did not go well. They were being gunned down. A lot of the tanks they were trying to unload were supposed to float. Of the 30-something that were sent ashore, 27 of them filled up with water, sank, and many of the crews drowned. So we lost them. So they could not provide the artillery to take out some of the guns and give our men fire protection and get them to the beaches. So this was going on, and you've all seen Private Ryan and all the guys just being shot down in their boats. The doors open and they're being killed as you open the door. Not even a chance. You didn't even make the beach. This went on for hours. So this was the heaviest spot. We lost over 2,000 men on that beach alone. Not for nothing, but if you counted those up, then 3, 4, 5. So you lost over 5,000 men that day. Anybody remember a couple years back we had this thing called the body count? Why was it when George W. Bush was running for office again and Obama was going, we had this body count in Afghanistan at like 600, 700, you know, we weren't even up to 1,000. We lost 6,000 men in a day, okay? So over 7, 8 years, I mean, you know, these are all still tragic losses. But where's that body count now? We don't see that politicized anymore, right? That hasn't been up there for how many years now? Yeah, so we've lost more men in Afghanistan under Obama's watch than we have under Bush's, by the way, for anybody keeping track. Imagine that. So we had hoped at that point after the landing that all 5 beaches would be connected, and that would happen in the first day. We fully anticipated it was going to be a 90-day event to get clearly across France, take over northern France, and reach the Seine. It got ahead of schedule. We did do that. It did take 12, until take to the 12th, so 6 days to actually get all of those beaches connected. Like I said, Theodore Roosevelt Jr. cleared the beaches, and he actually ended up winning the Congressional Medal of Honor for his duty in World War II. We ended up with 9,300 U.S. troops during the invasion and the aftermath of invading France over that course of the month. 9,300 men were lost for the Battle of Normandy. Those men were officially buried in Normandy. Normandy was our first U.S. cemetery in World War II. It was dedicated 2 days later on the 8th of June. So on June 8th, we officially opened the cemetery, and there are now 93 of our hallowed dead that were there. A Louisiana entrepreneur by the name of Andrew Jackson Higgins was the guy that we can thank for those boats that we saw landing, all those landing craft. He had developed them in the 1920s. They really didn't serve much purpose. He was an entrepreneur, and he spent all of his own money trying to market them. He tried to get government contracts. Of course, that didn't work for a very long time. They used them mainly for rescuing people after the floods on the Mississippi. Finally, after World War II, the Marines saw the value of this, and he created 20,000 of those craft. We waited a couple extra months, like I said, for the invasion because they had a bunch of them in the Pacific, but they weren't using them in the Atlantic. And so they wanted to make sure they had extras, and they shipped them over from Louisiana. Thank you to Mr. Higgins. That's pretty much what we had on most of those, but those beachheads cost us for quite a bit. It was an amazing thing. We're told all the time how it was kind of just a well-planned operation, but you can obviously see, just like our founders did, that there was a divine providence somewhere interlaid in this. The Germans did not expect the attack because of the weather. We went even regardless of the weather. The weather did not cooperate 100%, but because of that, some of our men were not killed on Utah Beach. We only lost 197, so that waves action did actually help us quite a bit. The Germans did not expect this because of all the detours and the delays. Hitler actually refused to release, even though the attack was underway, he refused to release any of the extra materials that he needed, the extra tank crews that he had directly under his authority, because he was convinced it was a feint and this was going to happen in Norway. So he refused to release his 4 personal tank brigades. Rommel, who we all know from the African conflict where he was down there, and they had shipped him up to hold off in France. Rommel was shipped there, but he was actually away back in Germany celebrating his wife's birthday. So he was not there to direct the crews. The crews did realize something was going on. Half of them didn't believe it, and then those that they finally did decide to send the tanks couldn't make a decision and had to wait because they didn't want to wake the Führer to make the call. So he didn't like to be woken. And as a result, they didn't want to get him angry, and he did not release those other tanks, and so they got delayed. Plus, by this time, our paratroopers had blown a lot of the bridges, and that delayed them further, which made our advance a lot easier. Eisenhower, the day of, did give a brief speech, which, since we have a moment, I will take a moment to read it. But his D-Day message was as follows. Soldiers, sailors, airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark upon a great crusade, toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of the liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. In company with our brave allies and brothers in arms on other fronts, you will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and the security for ourselves and a free world. Your task will not be an easy one. Your enemy is well-trained, well-equipped, and battle-hardened. They will fight savagely. But this is the year, 1944. Much has happened since the Nazi triumphs of 40 and 41. These United Nations have inflicted upon the Germans great defeats in open battle. Man to man, our air defensive has also seriously reduced their strength in the air and their capacity to wage war on the ground. Our home fronts have given us an overwhelming superiority in weapons and munitions of war and placed at our disposal the great reserves of fighting men. The tide has turned. The free men of the world are marching together to victory. I have full confidence in your courage, devotion to duty, and skill in battle. We will accept nothing less than full victory. Good luck, and let each of us beseech the blessing of Almighty God upon this great and noble undertaking. That same day, Franklin Roosevelt, I'm only going to read you the first 2 paragraphs here, had his speech. Last night we spoke to you about the fall of Rome, and I knew at that moment that the troops of the United States and our allies were crossing the channel in another, greater operation. It has come to pass with success thus far, and so it is poignant in this hour that I ask you to join with me in prayer. Almighty God, our sons, pride of our nation this day have set upon a mighty endeavor, a struggle to preserve our republic, our religion, and our civilization, to set free a suffering humanity. He continues to go on for quite a bit. This speech was requested quite a bit, and he actually printed them, and you can see a copy of these online, and he gave them out as Christmas presents later that year. So this speech was given out. And so at this point, that is the story of what happened 70 years ago today. There are boatloads of books you can read on your own, movies, of course, that you can watch. And of course, we'll probably never know all of the true story of D-Day, and there'll be many books written about it for decades and maybe hundreds of years to come. And we can just say thank you to all of our men and women who served. Thank you for all of them who died and served and lost their life, and those that came home victorious and preserved this way of life that we have. So thank God for them.
Boy, how do you follow up on that? You know what? If we could just have one moment of silence and thanks to those brave men who gave their all so that we can live in freedom. Thank you all. Steve, thank you, always. I feel so humbled. I hear these stories and I think, what can we do to preserve their honor and to preserve this country? So, okay, Jason, come on up, Jason.
Oh, the sound system went dead. Oh, look at that.
What's the matter with some of it? Couldn't be heard no matter what.
All right. Hello, everybody.
What power I have.
All right, just to go through some recaps of what we've had lately. The parade at Jackson, the Jackson Memorial Day Parade was a good success. We had a great turnout. Thank you to all who came. Show of hands, who was there? Excellent. We had a real good turnout. Everybody is always on the sidelines, is always excited and always cheering us on. And I didn't even hear any Obama supporters boo us. So
No, actually, we saw more people supporting us this year than last year.
Right, so it was good. Unfortunately, somebody had the same idea as us of handing the flags out, and they did it well before us. So unfortunately, we still have a lot of flags for whatever next event we're going to do. So, but again, it was a very good success. And again, if you ever have a chance to come to our parades to walk and march, they're always a good time. Thank you. Some of the other events we have coming up, again, the Blue Claws game, I handed out all the tickets for that. That's going to be next Saturday. Gates open at 6 p.m. The game starts at 7:05. It's going to be $3 per car for parking. You can carpool with anybody just to make it a little cheaper. By all means, do so. Wear your new East Jersey Tea Party shirts. Speaking of those, I'm going to be selling them at the end of the evening, at the end of the meeting, probably up here at the table. So they're $15 each. If you have exact change, that would be best. Or whoever does have the exact change, I would probably be able to help you first, just to get some extra fives to hand out to those who do need change. So I'll be selling the shirts right up here at the table after the meeting. But again, going back to the game, we're going to be wearing our East Jersey Tea Party shirts if you do have them. If not, try and wear something a little patriotic, just to show people that we're here, we're a big group of numbers, a big number of people, so we're going to be kind of all unified as best as we can. As you know, those who went last year, we had a table that we handed out literature, passed out literature. This year we will not have a table. It's just going to be a group seating style. Everybody's going to be sitting together. One thing I will stress, however, this is not a political event, and since we do not have a table, please do not bring anything to hand out in terms of literature or anything like that. They kind of frowned upon that from the last year. What I do recommend, though, is again, like Joellen mentioned, bringing a pocket full of business cards. Anybody that comes up and talks to you, mentions, takes a notice because of the shirts, because of the group that were there, starts talking to you, asking questions, hand them a business card, by all means. But in terms of any kind of informational stuff regarding Common Core, politics, or anything like that, we're not going to do any of that this time. So that's pretty much it with the Blue Claws game. Any questions? Sorry, go ahead, repeat that.
What time to be there?
Oh, the meetings, the gates open at 6 o'clock, so come whenever you want. The game's going to start at 7:05. So any time between then, just come on in. Everybody should.
If you come at 6 o'clock, you get a parking spot pretty much up close, so you'll be able to find your car. And I think we're a good group of people that you want to talk to anyway.
Yeah, a lot of us will probably be congregating somewhere around, the outside of the gate before it opens, and then once it gets inside, we'll all be kind of like I'm sure people will be hanging around the snack area. If anybody hasn't been to First Energy Stadium, it's kind of small and kind of intimate, so it's kind of not hard, it's really hard to get lost. So there's really no doubt that anybody will be able to find the group milling around. Our seating is behind home plate, so we have great seats, so as long as we're all kind of bunched up or just walking around in that vicinity, being at the gift shop, the restaurant facilities, or anything like that, we'll pretty much find each other for the game. Again, a couple of the upcoming events that we have. Just a reminder that the third Thursday of every month, we have a bowling group that goes on at Howell Lanes in Howell, New Jersey, in Route 9, if anybody's familiar. It's $3 per game to bowl, and $3 flat fee for your shoes if you need to rent them. And we have a special deal worked out with the bowling alley. So again, that's the third Thursday of every month at Howell Lanes. Even if you don't want to bowl, just come on and hang out, have some drinks, have a pizza.
We need some hecklers.
It's going to be 6:30 is when it all starts. So just come on over, bowl, or just hang out. It doesn't matter. We're just a casual, lively group. So it's all a bunch of fun. Any questions on that or the baseball game?
The bowling's going to cost you no more than $9 with the shoes because we play usually 2 games.
Right, 2 games.
So for $9, you're going to have a great time and a lot of laughs.
Okay, some of the upcoming trips that we have. Question? Okay. Some other upcoming trips that I've been thinking about. Last year, I set up an event for a movie on the beach. It was Jaws. Unfortunately, due to some schedule issues and some weather and whatnot, that was canceled. We had very low turnout, but I'm going to be doing that again. It's going to be at there's 2 different spots that we're going to be doing it. So I got to check the schedule and see what the best movies and times are. One of them is going to be at Spring Lake Pavilion in the beach. If anybody was at the Jaws, I know some people were. It was really, really crowded, but it's comfortable kind of crowded where it's a lot of fun. So if you're on Facebook or if you're on the email list, I'm going to be sending out flyers announcing some dates and movies for that. Another fun trip that I'm going to have coming up, definitely not everybody's cup of tea, but raise a show of hands who likes fishing, either in the ocean or whatnot. Okay, one I have is I'm going to be passing around a sign-up sheet. It's not a sign-up sheet to commit or signing up for anything specific. It's more of an interest sheet. It's for fluke fishing or flounder fishing down at Point Pleasant. Looking to probably meet up and go out on one of the party boats that are docked down there for the day. It's probably about 8 a.m. to 12:30, so it could be a half day of fishing. So if anybody that has done fluke fishing in the ocean knows it's a pretty wild time, especially when you go out on a party boat with a bunch of people you already know. Bring a cooler full of beer, a few sandwiches, share with your friends. It's going to be a good time. So I'm going to pass this around. If anyone is interested, please just give your name and email. And once I find out a definite date and time and everything, I'll be reaching out to anybody who's signed up and interested.
We're also going to have a board of directors mutiny on the boat that day.
Any questions regarding fishing or anything so far? event related. Okay, the final thing is, as Dan mentioned, or might not have mentioned, but we were talking about plans for next month's meeting. And since it is such a busy time for the 4th of July holiday, and that it does fall on the 3rd of July, we're going to be canceling our formal meeting here at the Spring Meadow Inn. And instead, we're going to be going down to Point Pleasant Beach, right by Jenkinson's, to watch the fireworks, the Point Pleasant fireworks. So just kind of have a group, like a little group get together down on the beach. Bring your beach chairs, lawn chairs, cooler, snacks, dinner, whatever. Come down to the beach. We're all going to be hanging out. I'm going to probably bring my Gadsden flag and sand spike and spike that up on the sand so everybody knows where to look. So that's going to be the 3rd of July. Probably start milling around there around 6 o'clock. Fireworks will probably be around 9 at sunset. So again, it's be very casual. Just come over and look for the Gadsden flag, and we'll have a good time. Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you very much.
You know, I say this every month, but Jason really puts a lot of thought and effort into this. July 3rd was Jason's idea. I think it's a great idea, so instead of meeting here, we're going to meet at Point Beach, Jenkinson's. We'll have a great time. Wear your t-shirts. Wear your t-shirts. Bring your flags. Bring plenty of cards. But come on out. And again, every opportunity we can, this is another way we can bring new members. So, Jason, always we thank you. I don't know, I think it was Steve's talk and Jason and Mr. Wilkinson coming and joining us. And what's going on with the VA hospitals, which I said as soon as Obamacare came into fruition, I told people about the story about my mom and dad went to the VA hospital. It was pitiful. And now we see with these soldiers who sacrificed their all going through, and now with this traitorous act that Obama just completed this past weekend, and now we hear there might be another trade. But it just makes me appreciate the veterans more. So if there's any veteran in this audience, would you please rise? Any veteran? And I see this over and over. We can never say thank you enough. Never. So, okay. Dan, come on up, Dan. Dan has got a story to tell us.
Oh, I don't know about that. I am fired up,
Loser!
Loser, you're a butt, buddy. I'm a winner.
Get behind the podium where you belong.
My wife says, well, you're a real winner. I don't know what she means by that. Anyhow, we ran for county committee, the wife and I had to beg her on bended knee to get on the ticket with me. She maybe promised no speeches. I will not do speeches, and I'm not going to campaign with you. So I'm on there, but that's it. It's not fun. It's as much. The job is as much as you want to make it, and I'm going to make it. Thank you. It was really a real eye-opener, and I'll cover this as quickly as I can because it's getting late. But I followed all the procedures. The women at the county election office was very helpful. They gave me a walk-in list with all the names of all the people and their addresses. There was actually Democrats on there by accident. And I went around and I knocked on all the doors in my little area in Jackson and spoke with each person that I could. I probably covered close to 200 doors. And I spoke to more than 100 people, maybe 150, I don't know. People want to talk. It was easy. I would go out, I'm nervous. I go, oh, they're going to throw me off the property, the dog's going to bite my leg. Get out of here, I don't want to buy anything. And I had only 2 of those people, out of all those people. And it was like, oh, okay, whatever. make that 3, a woman, wouldn't open the door. It's okay. But people wanted to talk, and it was very enlightening. They were very enthused, but not enthused enough. Here, I got the copy of all the people that were elected and the amount of votes they got to become elected. So this is something we're going to have to do here. I'll start out with Charles, 18 votes. Scott, 23. A woman named Joey, 23. District 3, 16 votes. 21 votes. A big one, 45 votes. 2 votes, 7 votes, 13 votes, 12, 18. These are the winners. These are the winners. We got 28 votes. So, thank you. My opponent, I knocked on their door and told them, the polite thing to do is tell them, I'm running against you. And they're like, yeah, okay. Did you want to talk? No, just go away. Okay. You've been told.
Excuse me, though.
Yes.
More votes, me or you?
You got 2 more votes than I did. But I voted for you twice.
I knew you were a loser.
How many did they get?
They got 14 votes. So, a couple were write-ins that I took. I already voted, I vote for you. I made a little flyer. Hi, we're your neighbors, Dan and Susan, we live over here, and, here's what we stand for, and also what I asked is, well, do you know who's representing you now? They've been representing you for 4 years now. Do you know who they are? No. Man, that is why I'm running. Okay? Okay. The idea for this is not new, but I recently took a course called the Tennessee Center for Self-Governance. And it's a real eye-opener, and I hate to tell you, but it's a fact that over the last 4 years we've been doing just about everything wrong, believe it or not. This course is detailed. It's an 8-hour course. I would encourage you to take it. It's this Thursday coming up, and it's $50 in Jackson. And you can go to the TNCSG, that's Tango November Charlie Sierra Golf.org, tncsg.org, and sign up for it. It will enlighten you in ways that you've never been enlightened before. I've taken 4 courses previous to this, Leadership Institute, various courses. Nothing comes close to telling you exactly what to do. One little instance is the various cycles. You can, during an election, there's two things you want to work on. You want to work on the candidate, or your elected official, more specifically, and you want to work on the issues, but not at the same time. You work on the issues during the election, but you work on your elected official during the off times, building a relationship. And that's just one of the little things they teach you. Also about flipping issues. Why is it that the Democrats and the Republicans seem to be almost on the same page sometimes? It's because they are on the same page. When Bush was spending all the money on the wars, everybody was saying, well, he's our guy, and it's going to be fine, and we'll be able to grow our way out of it. And the Democrats are screaming, oh, he's spending our children's money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now Obama's spending all the money, we're $17 trillion in debt, and now it's the Republicans screaming. Same thing. You're taking all our children's money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, guess what? You're both wrong. They're both in error. So, that's not man. That's Joellen's. That's just one of the many, many things it teaches you during this 8-hour course. And I would really encourage you to just take a day off and take that course. We have, I think, 5 or 6 people taking it right now. And it will really, really help you. It helped me quite a bit. I ran offline, and you know how everybody, when they vote, they go right down the line, and then we're out of here. So you really had to make them look and vote for you. So that's basically all I have to say. I also like to add something about Anthony Wilkinson, who just left. I would like to see our group, our club, concentrate on him and his area. It's the old Anna Little area, and the circumstances are such this year that we have a fantastic chance of actually knocking out Pallone. He is the architect of Obamacare. Anthony Wilkinson is an extremely qualified candidate, and people are really fired up. So if we're going to do it, it's got to be this year. So please, come on out. Thank you, Joellen. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Committee Man.
Oh my God.
How's that sound? Okay, how are we doing on time here?
Plenty.
Yes. Yes, okay, we'll pass the bucket around, and actually, we'll do a couple of things first. We're going to have Robert speak. Okay, we have the first, as Steve is passing the buck around, which we always thank you for your generous contribution. We're going to pull the first ticket, and this is for 2 tickets to the Blue Claws game. So Jimmy, you want to pull a ticket, hon? Pull a ticket.
Let them know who donated the ticket.
Jason?
78515.
Jason? Who are the 2, who's the donator of the tickets again?
Ray and Bob Cartwright.
The Cartwrights, which we thank. We'll send out a thank you note. What's the number?
278515.
278-515. We got a winner. Come on up and get your Blue Claws tickets. I can't see. Who is it? I need glasses on my glasses.
Bill, Martin.
Bill, come on up, Bill.
Auction off the cookie jar, too.
No, you're going to do that, because your mom wants you to get up and speak. Hey, Bill, how you doing? Good to see you. All right. Robert, would you get up here before your mom beats me up?
That's right.
First thing, who's going to draw another ticket number for the cookie jar that I brought in to give away?
Does it have cookies in it, Robert?
No, I told you, drugs. Who's got the tickets to pick out of the hat or whatever? Joellen, who's got the tickets?
Jim's going to draw the ticket.
Jimmy,
I got it right here.
pick one out and yell it out, Dan. Is that 8499?
8499.
8499. Come on up. I got a cookie jar for me. I had a cookie franchise. Luckily, it was called the Great American Cookie Company. So it's our mascot cookie jar. I have a bunch of them. I'll take it out after. All right, I'll bring it over to you after. I'll take it out of the box to show everyone in a minute. Had an interesting day. How many of you people here are poll workers for the elections? Okay. How many of you saw something that was totally unusual during this election? We saw, I was working in a freehold municipal building. There were 3 districts there. We were lucky if 100 people came in between the 3 districts. That's how quiet it was. We had people coming in that were unaffiliated, that wanted to register to vote and become Republicans. We had people coming in that were Democrats and wanted to switch parties. It was amazing, the response. And after the election, I went over to Rich Pizzullo's headquarters, who was running for state senate. And as I was watching the results coming in, a lot of candidates won their areas off the line. They did not win down the line for the whole Republican Party. In areas where Rich Pizzullo was off the line, he was hitting the numbers like 56% of the vote. Probably why Jeff Bell did so well is because he was off the line also in a lot of areas. Because he really didn't do much campaigning or anything like that. So it's showing that the people are disgusted on what's going on and came out. The other proof of that was, yesterday I took Mom to the pain management doctor because she's tired of me beating up on her. And we're sitting in the waiting room and we're watching on the TV, CNN has a health channel. So I made a comment about something and said it was Obamacare, and the whole waiting room erupted into a rumble, screaming about it and everything like that. So I'm talking to them and explaining what's going on. I didn't let them know I'm with the Tea Party movement. And finally, I let them know I was with the Tea Party movement. And I took out a couple of cards out of my wallet and handed them out. Is anyone here from that doctor's office? Besides you, Ma, put your hand down. Oh, the doctor's name? I don't know. Dr. Vinny Boombots. But people are getting extremely angry what's going out there. And all of you here, like we said before, I just want to emphasize it, can be a salesperson for this group and this movement. Even if they don't come to this group and they live in another area. You all know what's going on. It's very easy to educate them. Take business cards before you leave. Leave them in your car, put them in your pocketbook, put a few in your wallet. It's the best way to help recruit and get more people educated to what's going on. So please, take those cards. We have plenty of them. They're the cheapest way to advertise, and you are the best salespeople out there for this movement. So please take those cards. And I'm going to open up the cookie jar in a few minutes and we'll show it off. And who else is coming up next?
Thanks, Robert. See, these are all great examples as to how we can educate or re-educate, not indoctrinate, but re-educate the American people. Jason just said if we run out of t-shirts, just go to the bowling night and get those t-shirts.
No, if you don't buy them tonight.
If you don't buy them tonight, okay? They'll be available. Right, Jason? Okay. All right, now we have our last speaker. We're doing really well. Again, I'm going to do this a few times. Please do not come here July 3rd. Oh, that's cute, Robert. That's awesome. Woohoo! Who won that? I'm going to steal it. No, I'm not a Democrat. I don't steal.
The bar is for long term, that's all.
We are not meeting here next month. We're going to be down in Jenkinson's, okay? So, and maybe this is a great way for you to introduce the Tea Party to somebody new. But our last speaker tonight is dear old Don, who had that new endeavor that he conveyed last month. He has it pretty well established. He's going to throw it out at us again. And I think it's a terrific idea. I really hope that the whole group can participate in this and help Don get this off. And this is a great way to educate the American people.
Thank you very much. We're talking about educating the people. Last month at the meeting, I realized how much I'd forgotten about some of these issues that keep coming up. So it popped in my head about chain emails. We all have computers? Yes? There's so many issues. Have you seen Ted Cruz's list? He had 76 different topics. Okay? Somebody else just came up with 37 and so on. So I thought it might be a good idea if the East Jersey Tea Party sends out a chain email. So I had two friends, Dr. DeAndrea, and a neighbor of mine, Jack Chambers, and the three of us come up with some ideas. There's so many issues. I had trouble remembering what I had for breakfast this morning. So many used titles. For example, Benghazi, does that bring up something in your mind? How about the NSA? Okay. So all of them, it's going to be hard. We've got to do whatever we can to get the vote out in November. And the number of issues are going to be just too much. So I thought if we can get a chain email going, starting with East Jersey Tea Party, to all of us, and we get our own emails and send them out to everybody on our email list. it conceivably can go to every Tea Party in New Jersey, and perhaps they could do the same thing. And what I would ask you to do is to add your own once you've read the list that we send out, and just keep it going. And there's no way of knowing how far that can go. So we start with the East Jersey Tea Party. They'll send it out to you, and you'll send it out to everyone on your list, and they'll also send it out to those other Tea Parties in New Jersey, and hopefully, how about the Tea Party Patriots? How about the Tea Party Express nationwide? So we've got to really educate as many voters as we can. I'll give you an example of one that Dr. DeAndrea and Jack Chambers helped us with. How about Common Core? Here's what we wrote. Common Core. George Soros just can't wait until a single Common Core history curriculum is adopted by the federal government. States' rights be damned. So will that bring anybody's attention to that issue? I should hope so. So we have 6 different ones on the sheet. Look for it hopefully within the next few days. And please send it out on your chain and add any of your own to it as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. Now, if I can get John and Camille and Chris, if you would come up here. Once again, we thank you for attending the meeting. If you can, give out your cards, bring more people. We need youths. We need them.
Youths?
We need youths.
Youths?
Yeah.
Or youth?
Youths, you know.
Fresh blood.
You know, my cousin Vinny, you know. So, you ready? So if everybody would rise, please.
Nice and loud. Okay? God bless America. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.